The NBA came up with something that is almost like a ceiling because salary caps and salary floors in general are meant to be fluid. There are people you hire in departments in the NFL and in the NBA where their entire job is to be like your tax attorney. Their entire job is to take the law as written, salary cap rules, and figure out how to avoid it. IRS, how do I avoid paying taxes? What do I do to pay the smallest amount of money to the government that is legal and allowed within the four corners of this agreement? A CBA is an agreement that has four corners that have to be followed, but inside those four corners, there's a maze of open doors, Monty Hall style, where you can open a door and say, oh, ooh, I'm going to close that door right now. It was only a platter of dog poo-poo. Or you can open a door and say, oh, and it's a trip to Europe. Or it's an easy path to do what you want to do in terms of signing a particular player, maybe going over the cap in a way that does not penalize you or gives you an excuse to stay under the cap, to pay fewer dollars to certain players. There's all these different doors within an agreement, a CBA. Almost any CBA you read in any industry has them. What the NBA put in is this concept of a second apron. And I would point out that a second apron is meant to be so impenetrable that the object of the game is to make sure that owners do not approach the second apron, and if they blow through it, that they know they can only blow through it for a short period of time. Let's look at the Celtics. The Celtics traded away Drew Holiday to the Trailblazers 2 days ago. Yesterday announced they had traded away Porzingis. Everyone on my timeline, Coca, David P. Samson on Twitter, when I explained that Jason Tatum's Achilles tear was absolutely a dispositive fact that led to the Celtics making these deals, the answer was no, David, you don't get it. Even if the Celtics had won the title, they were breaking up that team. They were so far over the second apron, they couldn't afford to do it again with a payroll that would have been $500 million. A payroll that they knew about when they signed Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, Derek White. This was widely talked about, and it was always done with the view, let's be a dynasty. Let's win multiple championships in order to excuse a payroll and tax bill of $500 million. In order to do that, we need to win. If anything happens that we don't win, like an injury, like lack of performance, like we signed the wrong players because they stink, if any of that happens, we're going to move on. But if it doesn't, we're going to pay the tax because we've got the back-to-back. We've got the multiple pieces of jewelry. This is not uncommon thought by an owner, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Wyc Grousbeck is selling the team to Mr. Bill Chisholm. Think about this. About a year ago, so 10 months ago, back in March, there was a conversation that Wyc Grousbeck had, and the deal to sell the Celtics had not yet been announced. But he gave you an indication about something that was right on point for what owners are supposed to be doing and saying. He said it's not the luxury tax bill, it's the basketball penalties. The new CBA was designed by the league to stop teams from going crazy. They decided that it's not good enough to go after the wallets because the fans can say, hey, find someone who can afford to spend $500 million a year or whatever it is, like the English Premier League. It's the basketball penalties. They mean that it's even more of a premium now to have your GM be brilliant and lucky because you have to navigate, and here comes the money sentence. This is still Wyc Grousbeck speaking back in March. You can't stay in the second apron. Nobody will. I predict for the next 40 years of the CBA, no one is going to stay in the second apron more than 2 years. And he said this one day after the announcement of sale of the team. Why would he say that? Was he protecting the new owner? Was he protecting the fact that the new owner was going to cut payroll under all scenarios? We've seen that. New owner comes in of the Marlins. We know they're cutting payroll no matter how the team does. They didn't do well. Easy to cut payroll. Do you think for 1 second if the Celtics had won the championship this year, that the Celtics, with knowledge that there's a new owner, though Wick is still the governor, and it's a step transaction, that they would have broken up having gone back to back with a chance to go back to back to back? No chance, toilet pants. It's so preposterous for anyone to think that this was not formally approved by ownership, given the fact that they lost in the second round and that Jason Tatum is out for all of next season, being paid not to play. From Adam Silver's standpoint, he looks at Pablo Torre finds out, he looks at the episode, just like Rob Manfred looks at that episode, and they smile. Not because Roger Goodell is going through it, because each of those commissioners knows that each of those particular sports is doing the exact same thing, and it will never rise to a losing collusion grievance, ever. And I'll talk about it more with Pablo in the second hour. But the great epiphany of that show yesterday, and I encourage you to listen to Pablo Torre Finds Out, and the reason why it's getting so much attention is that there is a thought, some belief of some sort, that the owners got together to hold down guaranteed money for quarterbacks or for any player. When the reality is that we go to owners' meetings, and if you're a Nothing Personal fan, you've heard me say it for years. We go to owners' meetings and get presentations by the labor department, by the executive council, all the same stuff as this NFL management council. Same thing. We get the same decks, PowerPoints, all of which show us that what we do makes no sense, that what we do is not sustainable, that only one of you idiots in the room is going to win the World Series this year, and 29 of you are going to be pissed that you spent money you shouldn't have spent on players who didn't help you win. When you have the opportunity to not give guaranteed dollars to someone, you take that opportunity. When one owner breaks rank, that's not collusion. That is stupidity to the 9th degree. We told you, and we'll say it again, Jimmy Haslam was stupid for doing the Deshaun Watson deal.